Welcome viewers to yet another TV box top review. Welcome back. In the box you have the X1 series TV box itself. You get one IR remote, one HDMI cable, a 5V 2 amps DC power adapter, and a pair of user's guide. And now a look at its design and ports. Its body is made of plastic with the Tanggula branding printed to the top. To the rear of the box you have one HDMI 2.1 port, one RJ45 gigabit Ethernet LAN port, one optical audio port, one AV port, and the DC power input. To the side you have one USB 3.0 port, one USB 2.0, and a micro SD card reader. At the front you have an LED display, and below the box you have some small ventilation holes. So I'll set this up on my 4K TV, add a capture card and continue. So I'm all set, and let's have a look at its boot up process. You have the startup animation for a few seconds, then you're taken directly to the launcher with no startup wizard to complete. This launcher has a somewhat familiar layout with these large main buttons that cannot be changed and a shortcuts bar here at the bottom. It has a one-click memory cleanup button for killing apps running in the background and freeing up system resources, and it comes with a navigation bar and a limited status bar. Features include 4K display up to 2160p at 60Hz, HDR display settings, Dolby Vision settings, HDMI CEC options, audio output options. It has a navigation bar switch and a digital surround sound audio options. It does not have a root switch, hardware monitor settings, Samba server settings, or built-in screen rotation settings. So as I proceed, let's have a look at its system and hardware information. The manufacturer is Amlogic, and it runs on 4GB of DDR3 RAM and 128GB of internal storage, from which this is the remainder after the Android installation and all of the apps installed. The Bluetooth version is 4.0 according to the product description. The CPU, which is the Amlogic S905X3, is a quad-core Cortex A55 CPU clocked at 1.9 GHz, configured in 32-bit mode, with support for only 32-bit ABIs, which limits it to only 32-bit applications. The GPU is the Mali G31 with a refresh rate of 60Hz and OpenGL ES version 3.2, which is good for gaming. Under network, it shows that you have dual band 5 GHz Wi-Fi support. The operating system is Android 9 Pie and the box is not rooted. The operating temperature is between 55 and 60 degrees Celsius and even higher under 3D gaming. Under codecs, you have all your standard decoders for the playback of 4K videos in HDR format, and you also have DTS and Dolby decoders for the playback of digital surround sound audio. And that's it for system and hardware information. Let's now have a look at some benchmarks. First, its RAM copy speed and its internal storage read and write speeds. The Tanggula X1 has a RAM copy speed of 3223 MB per second. Its internal storage has a read speed of 41 MB per second and a write speed of 42. These scores are consistent with similar models in its class. Next, I have the results of its Wi-Fi bands and its Ethernet LAN speed test. And the results show that the X1 achieved 100% of my bandwidth on the 5 GHz band and on the LAN port. The 2.4 GHz band achieved just 46%. So, if your network is over 100 megabits per second and you want to achieve the highest speeds, use the 5 GHz band and the LAN port. If your network is below 60 megabits per second and you only have a single band router, the 2.4 GHz band will do just fine. Next, I have the results of the Antutu benchmark. The results show that the X1 got a score of 74,858. This score is a good score, and it's similar to the rest of models in its class. In the Geekbench 4 CPU benchmark, it scored 770 single-core and 2195 multi-core. These scores are good scores and consistent with similar models in its class. In the 3D Mark Gamers Bench GPU benchmark, it shows that the X1 does not have Vulkan support, and it scored 5,519 in the Ice Storm Extreme test and 503 in the Slingshot test. These are also some good scores and should see to it that it performs well in some 3D gaming. And that's the last of the benchmarks. I will now enter the scores and let's see how it places. So I've entered the scores on my top TV boxes rankings chart, and the Tanggula X1 is at position 25 in reference to Antutu benchmark scores. In going forward, I will continue to update this chart, renaming it the All Times Rankings chart, and I will also be creating an editor's choice chart where my most recommended TV boxes will be featured. A link to that can be found in the description below this video. Moving along. If I open the Root Checker app, it shows that the box is not rooted, running on Android 9 operating system. Keep in mind that the box does not have a root switch, which means that apps that require a box not to be rooted will not work. It is also ill-advised against trying to update or install the Super User app, as it will put your box into a permanent boot loop that can only be fixed by flashing the firmware, which in this case is dangerous because there are MAC address settings for the live TV service that will not be restored. Its DRM information shows that it has Google Widevine Level 3 with no HDCP protection. This level of DRM is insufficient for holders of premium accounts from big-name streaming services such as Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime Video to watch their content in HD and 4K quality. What will happen is that they will be able to access their account, but they will be restricted to only standard quality. Staying on the same topic, if I open Netflix, here you can see from a movie description that it does not have any HD or HDR icon, even though I have a 4K account. The same would apply to Amazon Prime Video, even though it may show an HDR icon in its movie description. Because of the lack of DRM, they will both show in basic quality. The X1 comes pre-installed with the Android TV version. It appears that they used the version from the Aptoid App Store, as it's the version that plays in HDR quality. Here, as I play a 4K HDR video, it plays up to 4K 2160p resolution, as well as it triggers the HDR icon on my LG TV. The box comes with the official version of Miracast, the version that plays in HD quality. Here I'm casting my mobile phone to the box and it plays with minimal latency. For those who like to customize their launchers, the X1 can change the default wallpaper as well as use alternative launchers. With this launcher, you can change its wallpaper from a selection of 5 they have pre-installed, and you can also upload personal pictures and use them as wallpapers. For those who prefer alternative launchers that has features of a mobile phone, you can install the ADW Launcher 2 that has features such as long-click menu pop-ups and drag and drop shortcuts. For those interested in digital signage and would like to use this box to display ads on vertical monitors, the X1 has screen rotation feature. Here I installed the app called Screen Orientations, and it works to change the orientation to portrait mode. I will now play my list of 4K videos in HDR format using the VLC player.
And only a win for Barca would be enough, because it would give them the stay up as well. Adriano. There's Alves, tries a shot, and Courtois, there's the save you were looking for, Duncan. Well, Nathan looks to get a penalty for that, surely. Let's have a look.
The videos played really well, including the jellyfish video at a high bitrate. Also, the HDR icon was triggered on my TV during the playback. I will now test its digital surround sound audio capabilities by connecting it to my 7.1 audio receiver in HDMI pass-through configuration and test for Dolby Atmos, TTSX, HD Master Audio, Dolby Surround, THX, and Dolby True HD.
This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with